stop chasing her. That sentence alone triggers resistance in a lot of men. It feels counterintuitive, almost irresponsible, because most of us were taught, directly or indirectly, that attraction is built through effort, persistence, and pursuit. That if you don't keep pushing, texting, planning, and proving, you'll fade into the background and be forgotten. But that belief is exactly what keeps men stuck, because chasing doesn't create attraction. It destroys it, and not in an obvious way, not instantly. It erodes attraction quietly, over time, until one day she feels off, disconnected, or unsure why her feelings changed. So let's talk about what actually happens when a man stops chasing. Not from theory, not from manipulation, but from human psychology, emotional dynamics, and real behavior. Because when you stop chasing, something shifts, the energy changes, the frame changes, and often the dynamic reverses. Attraction doesn't respond to logic, it responds to energy. Here's the first thing most men misunderstand. Attraction is not logical. You can do everything right on paper and still lose her interest. You can say all the right things, show up consistently, communicate clearly, and still feel her pull away. Why? Because attraction doesn't respond to words. It responds to state, your emotional state, your self-perception, your internal stability. When you chase, you may think you're communicating interest, affection, and intention. But emotionally, what's being transmitted is something else entirely. I need this to work. I'm afraid to lose you. My sense of value is tied to your response. Even if you never say it out loud, it's felt. And neediness, no matter how polite, subtle, or well-intentioned, lowers attraction. Not because women are cruel, not because they enjoy power, but because attraction is biologically wired to respond to strength, groundedness, and self-sufficiency. When a man needs a woman to feel complete, she feels pressure. When a man chooses a woman from a full life, she feels drawn. The moment you stop chasing, the signal changes. When you stop chasing, you don't become cold. You don't become indifferent. You don't disappear. You simply stop over-investing. And that sends a powerful signal. I enjoy you, but my life does not revolve around you. That signal is rare, and rarity creates value. Most men give attention too easily, too frequently, too predictably. So when that flow changes, even slightly, it's noticed. Which brings us to what actually happens in her mind. Stage 1. Confusion. The first reaction is confusion. She notices the difference. The texts aren't constant anymore. You're not always available. The emotional urgency is gone. And because humans are far more sensitive to loss than gain, her attention zooms in on what's missing. She starts wondering, why did he pull back? Did I say something wrong? Is he losing interest? This isn't panic. It's awareness. And awareness is the beginning of emotional tension. Attraction needs tension. Without it, things go flat. When you chase, there is no tension. Everything is certain. Everything is available. Everything is predictable. When you stop chasing, you reintroduce uncertainty. And uncertainty makes the mind engage. Stage 2. Self-reflection. After confusion comes self-reflection. Instead of you constantly thinking about her, she starts thinking about you. She replays moments. She remembers how you made her feel. She starts evaluating your presence in her life. This is where chasing usually kills attraction. Because when you chase, she never has to reflect. She never has to wonder. She never has to invest emotionally. Everything is handed to her. But attraction grows in the space you leave behind. Silence isn't powerful because it's manipulative. It's powerful because it creates room for imagination, and imagination fuels desire. Stage 3. Curiosity. Now something interesting happens. She becomes curious. She checks your social media. She notices you're still living your life. She sees you're not waiting around. Maybe she starts replying faster. Maybe she initiates conversation. Maybe she asks subtle questions to gauge where she stands. This isn't coincidence. This is emotional investment beginning to grow. And notice something important. You didn't play games. You didn't fake disinterest. You didn't try to provoke jealousy. You simply stopped chasing. And by doing that, you allowed her to feel something on her own. Stage 4. Pursuit. Eventually, the dynamic shifts, not dramatically, not like a movie scene, subtly. She leans in. She seeks clarity. She wants reassurance, but on her terms. This is where roles begin to reverse. Not because you manipulated the situation, but because attraction needs polarity. When she feels like she has fully secured you, attraction relaxes. When there's space, mystery, and independence, attraction breathes. Why chasing never proves value. Here's the psychological truth underneath all of this. Value is never proven by pursuit. Value is assumed when someone doesn't need to convince. Think about the most valuable things in life. Opportunities don't chase people. Success doesn't beg. Confidence doesn't explain itself. They attract. When a man is grounded, busy, and focused on his direction, he naturally becomes attractive, not because he ignores women, but because his life has momentum. Women are drawn to men who are going somewhere. Stopping the chase is not being passive. This is where many men get it wrong. They hear "stop chasing" and interpret it as do nothing, act distant, become emotionally unavailable. That's not strength, that's avoidance. Stopping the chase means removing emotional urgency. It means no longer putting her on a pedestal. No longer tying your self-worth to her response. No longer over-explaining or over-investing. It means choosing to invest your energy where it compounds, and the place where energy compounds the most is you. Why self-focus changes everything. When you focus on making money, you're not chasing wealth. You're building competence. Discipline optionality. Money isn't about impressing women. It's about removing fear from your decisions. And fear is one of the biggest killers of masculine energy. A man with options moves differently. He doesn't rush. He doesn't cling. He doesn't negotiate attraction. When you dress well and smell good, you're not seeking approval. You're signaling self-respect. How you present yourself tells the world how you see yourself. If you don't respect yourself enough to look sharp, why should anyone else? When you train your body, you're doing more than improving aesthetics. You're building mental toughness, consistency, self-trust. The gym teaches you discomfort, delayed gratification, keeping promises to yourself, and those qualities leak into everything. Your posture changes, your eye contact changes, your presence changes. People feel it before you speak. When you invest in your passions, you stop being boring. A man excited about his life is infinitely more attractive than a man waiting for someone else to give his life meaning. The hard truth. Most men avoid. If your life revolves around her, she becomes your purpose, and no woman wants to be a man's purpose. She wants to complement it. Purpose anchors attraction. When you don't have one, you cling. When you do, you choose. And choice is attractive. Emotional safety. The invisible trigger. There's another reason women feel drawn to men who stop chasing. Emotional safety. When you chase, your mood depends on her response, her tone, her attention, that creates pressure. But when you're grounded in your own life, you're calm, predictable, stable. That calmness makes her feel safe, and emotional safety is one of the deepest attraction triggers there is. What stopping the chase is not, let's be clear. Stopping the chase is not punishing her with silence, playing power games, pretending you don't care. It's matching energy. If she leans in, you lean in. If she pulls back, you stay steady. No panic, no overreaction. Steadiness is rare, and rarity creates value. Scarcity, the real kind. When you stop chasing, your time becomes limited. Your attention becomes valuable. Not fake scarcity, real scarcity. And humans desire what feels earned. When she feels like she has to qualify for your time, attraction deepens. The biggest shift of all. When you stop chasing, you stop being afraid to lose her, and fear is always felt. The moment you release it, you reclaim your power, and paradoxically, that's when you become most attractive. Because confidence isn't loud, it's calm. It's knowing you'll be okay whether she stays or leaves. That energy is intoxicating. Closing, so stop chasing her. Chase your growth, chase your discipline, chase your mission, chase the man you're capable of becoming. Build a life so full that anyone who enters it is an addition, not a requirement. The right woman will feel that energy without you saying a word. She won't feel chased, she'll feel drawn.